Welcome back to Living Local. It is time now here on Thursday to check in with Movie Mike for what's new in theaters. So Mike Schultz, arts editor for the River Cities Reader, as always, is here. Mike, thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
So let's start with the ones you had act like we told you go do it. You went to go see these movies
I
last
did,
week.
yes.
Okay, by
voluntarily.
choice.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So the first one here that you went and saw was Redeeming Love. We talked about this last week.
Yes.
It's based on a romance novel, which is then based on a Bible story.
Yes.
So you kind of know what you're getting there.
You kind of do. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this one takes place during the California Gold Rush in the 1860s. And there is a young farmer who comes to town and sees a young woman on the street and thinks it's the most beautiful woman he's ever met in his life. And it turns out she is the town prostitute. This does not aver him, however. He goes to a room every night and pays money just to chat and to propose marriage every evening, as she keeps refusing. At one point, it becomes a really heinous beating that she suffers through. He asks her again, and she says, yeah, maybe it's time to get out of town. And she agrees to marry him. From then on, we get the hilarity of watching a fallen woman learn to chop wood and cook food and go fishing. And it's kind of awful in all the ways you expect it's going to be. But it's really well acted. And so I couldn't hate it as much as I wanted to. It's really offensive material in many ways, but the lead, Abigail Cohen, is great. A lot of the supporting actors are good. It made it easier to sit through. We'll say that.
As I say, he wrote in the review it should have been excruciating.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And it was the cast's fault that it wasn't.
Yes, I blame the cast.
Take that how you want to take it.
Time.
All right. So this one, I mean, I don't think you used the word excruciating in our next movie.
No,
The King's Daughter, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, he said boring as sin in there.
I did say that.
Void of any single engaging sequences, those types of things.
Yeah.
So remind us again what it's about first.
Sure, why not?
Hate on it.
Exactly, and it'll be gone soon, so I don't want to pick on it terribly long. It's set with King Louis XIV in France, and he has a daughter, and Louis wants to live forever, and has decided the way to do that is to kidnap a mermaid and steal her life essence, because that's what you do.
Because there's mermaids, yeah.
Sure, why not? And so his daughter becomes friends with the mermaid. She wants to get her back to the ocean. I mean, you can pretty much see where it's going from there. I wouldn't have minded the silliness if it was in any way fun.
Yeah.
But it's not. The effects aren't good. There's the dialogue is silly. The performances are weak. And it's been on the shelf for 8 years. We talked about this last week, that it got completed in 2014, and they're just now releasing it.
Just a little red flag.
I aged 8 years watching it. So, yeah, I guess it made up for the lost time.
It
was rough.
Those were your reviews. There we go. Let's
Moving
go
right along.
Let's go to the new movies now here. So first up, we're going overseas. This one's a Spanish movie.
Yes.
It's called Parallel Mothers.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. This is by Pedro Almodovar, who's a fantastic Spanish filmmaker, won an Oscar for a screenplay and for Best Foreign Language Film. This one casts Penelope Cruz as...
We know who she is.
We know who she is, yes. She is in her mid-40s. She gets pregnant. She goes to the hospital. She shares a room with a teenage girl who's giving birth roughly at the same time, and it turns out they give birth at the exact same time. They decide to stay in touch and talk about how their daughters are progressing until Penelope Cruz, the father of her baby, shows up and says, I'm not sure that baby looks like me, and I don't think the baby looks like you very much either. And then that, of course, begs the question, did we get the right babies when we left the hospital? Exactly. So Pedro Almodovar is a phenomenal filmmaker who makes really wonderful, entertaining soap operas that have a lot of dramatic heft. Penelope Cruz, of course, is great. So I can't wait. Looking forward to that one.
Okay. Better than mermaids.
Sure. Well, what isn't?
There we go.
Yeah, right.
And then our second new one here this week is not Spanish, but it's in Danish,
right?
It's
Yes.
called Flee. This is more of an actual documentary.
This is a really interesting documentary, it looks like. Yes, because it's a foreign language documentary, of course, being in Danish. It is also animated. So we have an animated foreign language documentary this weekend about a man who in the 1980s, when he was about 4 or 5, he and his family became refugees, and they went off to Moscow. Then the political climate in Moscow made them become refugees again and go off to Denmark. And so this is kind of his life story, talking about the political oppression and about trying to kind of assimilate in different countries. And he also, it turns out, was gay as well. And so he was being persecuted for other reasons.
Okay.
Fascinating subject matter, getting great reviews, could be up for a bunch of Oscars and a whole bunch of different strange categories.
I was going to say, just check
Yeah.
a lot of boxes there.
Right, absolutely.
Interesting. And we should mention those two, the new movies, those are open in Iowa City.
Iowa City's film scene,
Okay.
indeed.
All right, you got to drive a little bit. Mike, thanks for coming in.
A pleasure.
As always, we're in review from last week, Redeeming Love and The King's Daughter. Those are still available. And then out this week, Parallel Mothers and Bleed. You can always read Mike's movie reviews inside the latest River Cities Reader, on stands everywhere, and online at rcreader.com. And for more information on today's movies, there's our website. It's ourquadcities.com.